Yeah, absolutely. They can get on board at keepjudgemcafee.com. And so if anyone cares about our criminal justice system and making it better for everyone involved here in Fulton County, I'd ask for them to take a look, to join us. I'd ask for their vote and for their support.
You were handpicked and selected and put in that position by Governor Brian Kemp. So this is your first election that you've ever run, or have you been in other elections before?
No, this is the first time, and I'm looking forward to getting out there. Last
night I had which is now I guess your challenger, Robert Patillo, on, and one of the things that he talked about why he's running is because of the backlog of cases that he says the judges can help out. Criticized the fact that this case, this what we call election interference case with Donald Trump and 18 others, has moved through the courts very quickly, but there are people who are sitting in holding cells and in Fulton County Jail who have not seen a judge, and he's saying that's why he's running. What do you say to that?
Well, what I would say is that a lot of what he shared with you yesterday about efficiency, about getting everyone their timely day in court, I couldn't agree more with that. He's absolutely right about that, but he's coming after the wrong judge if that's what he really believes. And frankly, I've got the numbers to prove it. I mean, from day one, my job was to attack the backlog, and I've done that with everything I could, and it's working. I mean, I can tell you that I inherited a docket where I was second to last in terms of the number of pending cases. In 1 year, I'm now in the top half. I'm number 6. I had 53 different murder cases when I came on board. We're now down to 25. We had 25 defendants that had been sitting in jail for over 1,000 days. We're down to 10. So we have been attacking this backlog with everything I've got, and we've been just doing jury trial after jury trial. When you reached out to me yesterday, I just wrapped up another murder case. So all I can tell you is people maybe don't see all of the cases that I handled. Maybe one of them gets most of the attention, but the actual bread and butter of what we do and that's happening in 5A is exactly the type of work that he talked about and that I'm really proud of.
And was that your stated goal when you got put in that position by the governor, was to take care of the backlog and get people moving?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that has been one of the most continual frustrations of Fulton County. You know, you've got a case where a victim's family is just sitting there waiting to try and get some justice in the case. And on the other side, you've got a defendant who oftentimes just, again, wants his day in court, wants to tell his side of the story. And they're just sitting there waiting. And we've got to have a system that recognizes that and people willing to put in the work to make it better. And we've got the resources. We've got all the means in Fulton County to make that happen. It's just a matter of knowing how a courtroom works, having spent a career in a courtroom, and knowing how to move those cases along. And that's exactly what I've done.
One of the other criticisms that Mr. Patillo logged last night was the fact that many judges come from the prosecution side, and so you, as a defendant, you're up against two prosecutors in effect. What do you say to that?
So, certainly he's right that a lot of judges do become or start out as prosecutors. I certainly spent plenty of time as a state and federal prosecutor. And a lot of when you're looking at someone and a lot of what that job is, prosecutor's job that's done well is almost quasi-judicial, because you're not just looking out for your own case. You're not winning at any cost. It's about justice over convictions. So oftentimes as a prosecutor, I was looking after the defendant's case because I didn't want it to get overturned on appeal. So that mindset as a prosecutor, like I said, it's very similar in some respects to what you're doing as a judge. So that transition from a prosecutor to a judge, the right kind of prosecutor, is one that I think is very much speaks to what a judge is supposed to do in terms of seeing the bigger picture. And it's one I've tried to apply in every case in terms of approaching a case from a perspective of allowing both sides a fair day in court. So I certainly think he's entitled to that perspective. But when you actually look at the work I've done, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find any attorney who's tried a case in my courtroom who didn't think they got a fair day in court.
We're on the phone with Judge Scott McAfee, Fulton County Superior Court judge, and has a challenge for his election, and that election is in May 21st. Let's go a little bit to the big election interference case. I do have to ask you this question. Do you feel that Petillo's run is being backed by Fani Willis, which a lot of people on my side of the fence and a lot of people I've spoken to feel that this is a pressure campaign to force you to, and I'm doing air quotes, do the right thing or make the right decision. Do you feel that way?
No, I couldn't tell you that. And I haven't met him. I haven't seen him around the courthouse. And like I said, I think he seems sincere. So I'm not the type that I'm going to presume the worst of that sort. And I'm not one to jump at conspiracy theories like that. And the biggest thing that I wanted to come on and make sure I told you today that even if it is, it doesn't matter, because it is absolutely not going to play into my decision in any way. No job is worth my integrity. And, you know, when you ask that question, what I think about is, I've got 2 kids, 5 and 3. They're too young to have any idea of what's going on or what I do. But what I'm looking forward to one day is maybe they will grow up a little bit and they ask me about it. And I'm looking forward to looking them in the eye and telling them I played it straight and I did the best I could. Wow.
That's a strong. I'm editorializing here. That's a strong answer right there, and I know it's true. So on that side, can you tell us? I have got to ask this question also. Can you tell us? Are you any close or anywhere closer to that 2-week decision on the election interference? Are we closer to that? Are we sooner than 2 weeks or outside of 2 weeks? How are we looking?
I gave myself a deadline because I knew everyone wanted an answer, and I'll tell you, an order like this takes time to write. There's a lot that I have to go through. And so, I'll emphasize this. I've had a rough draft and an outline before I ever heard a rumor that someone wanted to run for this position. So the result is not going to change because of politics. I am calling it as best I can in the law as I understand it. So I still feel like I'm on track to having that done by the deadline that I put on myself.
Today, the news broke that the Fulton County Commission dropped any ethics hearings with a DA against DA Fani Willis because she's a constitutional officer. That was one of the arguments waged by the defendants when you had the hearings. Does that change anything based on your outline and what you've been thinking about in your decision?
Well, Shelley, unfortunately, I think that's where we start dipping into that realm of commenting on a pending case.
No problem.
So those judicial ethics prevent me from doing that, but maybe we can sit down many years from now and have another conversation about it.
No problem. I had to ask.